Just a little bit about Isabel. Her professional background has been centered in the educational sector, working with different demographic and teaching multiple humanistic subjects. She's also dabbled in the world of events before joining the U.S. Census Bureau as a partnership specialist. She is currently located in UTC area, and her mission is to assist to get an accurate count in our region. So, Isabel, we're really happy to have you here to tell us a little bit more about the census and how important it is for us to fill those census surveys out and to better assist our community for the next decade. So thank you for being here, and we're excited to learn more.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity to update the audience about this 2020 census and how San Diego is responding to the census. So I want to share my presentation. I want to do this kind of conversation because I always say, like, this is my first census in this country, and obviously I imagine that many of the people in the audience they have more experience than me taking the census. So what I can bring is like a kind of the technical information about the operations, what is happening, how we are outreaching, but I would like also to hear from your previous experiences with the census. So one of the main two things where the census is important, we say, is for political representation and also for the amount of federal money that we get from the federal government. Funds for different programs for medical, Medicare, the public schools. As you can see in the image that I'm sharing with you, the design of public transportation, how we planned also for housing, Title VIII housing goes out of that. The count is how the government distribute more than $675 billion annually for the next 10 years. So that's why it's so important that we all participate in the census. And also the congressional seat comes out of that census count. That's one of the main reasons why the census is so important. Among other things, as I said, like small business administration, for example, they got a grant, they got some of the money that they get to provide to small businesses comes also out of that census count. Nursing homes, many, more than 130 federal funding programs comes out of the census count. In California, for every person that is not counted, we lose around $2,000 per person per year for the next 10 years. And this is an example that I always like to provide. Last decennial census, 2010, there were 2 million children under 5 that were not counted in the country. As a result of that, just in LA County, they lose for programs like a Head Start, they lose $500 million per year for the next 10 years. So this is something that I always like to bring up for the audience to have an idea how important it is to participate. And that single click that sometimes we don't do if we're going to take the census online, that means a lot for our community. So what the U.S. Census Bureau has been doing in order to address the undercount, one of the main things that we do to design for this 2020 census was like we provide different methods of participation. As we were commenting previously, for the first time, the census is going to be able to be taken online. So you go to the internet, my2020census.gov, and then you can there take your census. The census form is going to be available in 12 languages, 13 if we count English, taking into account that American is like kind of a melting pot. We have communities from all over the world. And another channel that the U.S. Census Bureau has been providing to take the census is the phone. We have a call center that is a place in the East where for those that don't feel comfortable responding to the census online, they can call and they can fill out their census form through a phone. We have census representatives that are bilingual and they are going to be able to help you. We have been also mailing the paper form, especially to the rural areas or those areas where the internet access is low. Also, the same with the phone access is low. So we are going to be mailing, or we mail the paper form. And the last channel to respond to the census is going to be the enumerators, or those like are known like note talkers, for those households that they hasn't replied yet to the census. When the pandemic came, we were also affected. We were impacted by the pandemic, so we had to come up with other initiative in order to outreach the community. We were just ready to go out and do all these big events in which we go to the libraries, go to different community events. We have our banners like the one I have here in my background, announcing people that, hey, this is the census, we are ready to help you. So we couldn't. And as many other businesses, many other community organizations, we had to reinvent ourselves. So one of the initiatives that we came up with was, as you can see here, we start outreaching through emails. We were sending emails to community members or constituencies, especially in those census tracts where the response rate was less than 50%. Emails and also text messages to remind them to participate in the census. We also were sending census invitations to PO boxes, something that we didn't consider before. So the census was sending letters with the ID number to the PO boxes. As I said one more time, especially to those rural or remote areas. And we always clarify that even though you get an invitation in the PO box, you should respond with your physical address, because that's what we are going to be taking into consideration. Another initiative that we implemented here in San Diego, we created our own local line to facilitate the call, especially has been kind of successful with seniors. Many seniors, sometimes they have kind of limitation access into internet, or they don't know how to do it. They feel more comfortable responding over the phone rather than going out and return the paper form. So we facilitate a local line where they can call and get their census fill up. This is the number for our local line, our San Diego County local line. That's the number you can see there, 858-285-7539. We have census representatives that are bilingual in the languages that you can see there: English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Tagalog, Russian, Vietnamese. We have also German, and we have also anyone that needs assistance with the sign language, they can set an appointment and we can support them with that. The Census Bureau also has designed for the beginning a glossary in another 59 languages, where other languages that other communities that feel better responding to the census in other languages, they can have an idea what the census is asking. So in the previous image, I was showing where is the link to respond to the census online. And as I say one more time, the form is going to be available in 13 different languages, including English. And there is a glossary in another 59 languages. And this is important. I remember once I was presenting in San Diego, and there was, I represent the federal government. There is, I was presented with one organization that they are specialists in outreach just in San Diego. And when I mentioned like, we are glad that we can provide 59 non-English glossary to respond to the census, the specialist in San Diego, she said, there are just 80 different languages spoken in San Diego. So that's for you to have an idea how versatile our multicultural our community is, and how the effort that the U.S. Census Bureau is also providing to reach out to those different small communities to participate in this civic and mandate civic duty that we have as citizens and residents of this country. And as I said, the fourth channel to respond to the census is the Numerator Visit. The census was extended until October 31st, but just this week we got notification that the census, the last day to respond to the census is going to be September the 30th. The Numerator Visit study already in some regions. The main operation for those census representatives that are going to be out in the field is going to start in August 11th. And the best way to avoid a stranger knocking at your door is going online to my2020census.gov, respond online, or to call our local San Diego line or the national call center to respond to the census or return the paper form if you don't want anyone to be knocking at your door. Those numerators that we go out, they are going to be bilingual in English and Spanish, and they will attend reaching a household that hasn't replied yet to the census multiple times. I always like giving a little bit more information how you can identify that census field representative that is going to be on the field. They are going to be wearing an ID badge like the one you see in the picture and the one similar to the one I'm showing here in the camera. They are going to have the Department of Commerce logo, the watermark, their name, the expiration date of their position, and here that they represent the U.S. Census Bureau, plus a picture ID. They'll also going to be wearing the briefcase with the census logo, this one that you can see here. They're going to be holding a census form. It's going to be a form, and on the back of the form, there's also going to be, it's a form similar to this one. On the back of the form, they're going to have the logo of the U.S. Census Bureau in this area, the lanyard with the badge, and the computer also with the U.S. Census Bureau logo, as you can see there. So this is information that if you feel that is going to be helpful to share with the community, I would really appreciate you to do it as well. And these are the characteristics of what they are going to be wearing, the numerator. They are going to be out in the field conducting their work between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If by any chance you want to double check that the person you have in front of your door is a census staff representative, you can call the customer service center, and here is the phone number. So just to let them know, hey, I have John Smith is knocking at my door. He says he's a census field representative that I need to fill out the census for. Can you double check that he's one of your staff? And then our staff at the service center is going to be able to help you verifying that information. Another information I like sharing about the census is what we are going to be asked when we respond to the census form and what we are not going to be asked. And this is important and it's a way to decrease fraud and scam that may come from people pretending to be someone from the census. The census questionnaire is quite simple, have 9 questions. The question number 1 is going to be the number of people living in the household. Is the person filling out the census form is an owner or renter? And I would like to say that we just need 1 person per household filling out the census form. If there is any duplicate, we are going to have after September the 30th, there is a period that is called quality assurance in which we are going to clean that data. We are going to get rid of all of those duplicates. And the census form also is going to be asking for the phone number, name, sex, the age, date of birth, Hispanic, so is the person Hispanic or is not Hispanic, and if the person has been living somewhere else. This is important, especially in the case, for example, that we have children with split custody, that those kind of family that they have sometimes members that they spend half a year in one household, half a year in another household, and as I said, especially with children, and sometimes the parents, they don't know who should be counting that child. In that case, we always advise that they should take as a benchmark April the 1st. The child should be counted where he or she spends more time, is with the mom or with the dad, and if they can make up their mind, they can take April the 1st as the benchmark to count that child. And also there were sometimes we have seniors that we have snowbirds that they spend some time north of the country, and when some kind of specific season comes to that area, they migrate to another side of the country, or they go to different areas of the country, kind of supporting their children with the grandchildren. In that case, where should they be counted? So it's the same question. They should be counted where they spend more time. And if they come out of their mind, in that case, they should think where I was on April the 1st, and that's when they has to be counted. The census is not going to be asking for citizenship or any kind of immigration status, no social security number, no property permits. We are not going to be counted either for donations, bank accounts, so, as I said, social security number either, employment, income, or wealth information. So if you hear like someone is calling you, trying to say, hey, I'm here calling you from the Census Bureau, I need this information for you, and that sounds like a red flag, please, you can report that number. And remember that we are not going to be asking for any of those kinds of information. As I said, we provide more information when we purchase something online with our bank account than when we respond to the census. That's a way that we use to encourage community members to participate on the 2020 census. It's also important to know, like, all the information that you share with the census is protected by law. All census staff has sworn oath that we can share that information for life. Not even once the census is done on September 30th, we can share that information. The information is protected by law. It's in the Title 13 of the US Code. If we fail on doing that, we can get fined with more than $250,000, and we can go to prison for 5 years. So that is for you to know, like, we take care of your information. The census information is shared when we release the names and date of birth is after 72 years. So if you go now to the census.gov and you want to look for any information, you will find now the information related to those United States residents that were here in 1940s. So that's how we protect the information. So this is kind of an overview about the operational shift, how we have to adjust under the pandemic. As I said before, the self-response was meant to be from March the 12th until July the 31st, and now we extended until September the 30th. And our day leave that happens in some rural area is when we go and leave the questionnaire, and then we come back because the questionnaire that also has been extended until July the 29th. For those seniors that live in group quarters, that mean nursing homes, for the students that live in the dorm, we are going to be counting people in prisons, also how do you say, the Marines and all of that. That's going to be until September the 3rd. That has been also extended. The enumerators, those are the ones that go out to the field knocking on the doors. They have been extended as well until September the 30th. Homeless, we are going to be counting homeless as well. And we are working with many organizations that provide services to that population. Service-based enumeration, like soup kitchen, shelters, food bank, they are going to be counted between September the 22nd and September the 24th. We are going to be counting those community residents that live in transitory locations like RV parks, marinas, hotels, campgrounds, and that's going to happen also in September. Once we have all the count and we clean the data, we are going to deliver the approximate count to the president by December 31st this year. And next year, by March 30th, we are going to deliver that information to the state. And as I said, this is important for congressional seats, especially when we deliver that count to the president. What is our call to action, and what we would like organizations like yours to support us? So we, as we have been doing today, we appreciate you inviting us to provide this kind of chat or explaining why the census is important, how we count everyone, with the impact that the census can have in our communities. As I say, we lose around $2,000 per person that is not counted per year for the next 10 years. And that affects multiple community programs, especially schools, libraries, many things get affected by that. And the other call to action is like if you are active in social media, if you are outreaching any specific community, please let them know about the channels available to respond to the census. One more time, they can go to the internet and reply through www.my2020census.gov, and they can call our local line that is 858-258-7539. And if you respond to the census, I want to say thank you. But if you have friends, relatives, co-workers, staff, constituents, and you can encourage them to respond to the census, that will be our best support, especially if we do it before August 11th. So by doing this before August 11th, we can decrease the number of numerators that are going to be out to the field, knocking on the door. We can decrease also the risk of contagious, especially now during the pandemic. And every effort that we can do to have a best and accurate count, I think all is appreciated. So, thank you so much. If you have any question.
Yeah, thank you, Isabel. That was really informative, and you know, I don't think Deborah's clapping.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, you know, you never really hear too much about how it impacts the communities we live in and how it's for the next decade. So this is extremely important for everyone to do their part and you know, make the census count. So does anyone have any questions? Ruth, do you have any questions?
Yeah, that customer service number, I have 1-800-923, and that 82, what's the last two numbers?
There you go.
Okay.
8282.
What is it? 82 what?
82.
82.
It's this, it's
Okay, 82,
yeah.
82. Okay, all right, good.
But as I said, the best way is go online, call. Once that you respond to the census, we know that we don't have to bother that household at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way.
Yeah, I did it for myself and for my parents through the internet, and it was very easy and quick, and we'll avoid anybody coming to our door, so that's good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just 10 minutes if you do it online.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 10 minutes. So
yeah, very fast. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the information, Isabel, and we'll definitely post this so that other members can watch it and learn more about how to go about filling out the census. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be sure to provide them with the phone numbers and contact information given here. Thank you so much for being here. Ruth, did you have another question?
Thank you.
You know, I want to give this to the management in my building. So give me that online, that somebody can plug in online again. Give me that.
The website to take the survey or to take the
Yeah.
survey?
Let me get that.
This one?
Is that what we do? Like I have them plug in that and put in their name and my 2020 census. Okay. Because I'm going to send it to the manager in the building and tell them, if you haven't applied, to please do so.
Thank you so much.
One other thing, for seniors, because we're a senior center, you said something about nursing homes. Is there any other services that seniors would get if there was money given? What other services?
Yes, there are for seniors. I'm thinking on the top of my head. As I said, there are more than 130 federal programs that get money out of the census count. And I remember, I think Medicaid, there is a difference between one of those.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they get their portion they get from the census count. There is also the planification for nursing homes that is also come from the census. Many, as I say, 130. I don't remember all of them, but I do have kind of, if you allow me, there is a website if no, I can every dollar count. I can send it to Nancy later, where they have an example. An example of some programs, 150 programs in California that got their money based on the 2010 census. So that gives you an idea how many, counting for dollars.
Okay, because I'm thinking Nancy could send this out to all our members, and we could point out by your filling out the census report, it's going to help seniors with Medicare, and also nursing homes. I mean, if we have a list of those things, and here's how you do it online. And
so this is amazing, and I would really appreciate that. This is a sample, and I was referring. This is by the Washington University, and fiscal year 2016, California received this amount for all of these programs. And then you can see, this is an example of the programs, and then you can see there is the medical, for example, the federal direct student loans, the Pell Grant, that comes the Medicare, supplemental medical insurance, Part B, and there is the housing is over there. So you can, the Section 8 housing assistance payment programs, all of that came out of the census. And as I mentioned, this is what we get. We are going to be getting that for every year until the next census. So let's say we miss a community this year, that community is going to be affected. We're going to have less funds, like for example, and this is another example I like always sharing. For the first time in history, California is expected to lose one seat, because we know for many reasons, we have a lot of people that has been exiting the state, right? So that's going to be reflected in the census. And as I said, census count is used for apportionment of congressional seats. So we have more people leaving the state than more people coming into the state, and that's going to be reflected in this census. And the statistic was saying that we are expecting to lose one seat, even before the pandemic. That was the statistic for this census before the pandemic, which means that we are going to have less representation, less power, and also less funds coming to us, less money coming to us. So that's why it's so important that the ones that are staying here, that we all participate. As of yesterday, California, the country was at 63% nationwide responding to the census. So that means that those numerator has to reach almost kind of 40% of those households that hasn't replied to the census yet. California was at 60, almost 70, kind of 68% of responding to the census, which means that in California, we're going to reach out to 30% of those households that hasn't replied yet to the census. And remember, the pandemic is also affecting, we're hiring numerators, but it depends how the development of the health crisis is going. As it is increasing, maybe we will have a decrease in those staff that are willing to go out and knock on the door. That's why we are coming out with all of these initiatives. Another initiative that we have been implemented, we are conducting caravans almost like every weekend, especially in those areas with low self-response, areas that have less than 50% of self-response. We are just driving our cars, decorating with census information. Hey, participate in the census. We go with our music just to raise awareness, like a census is there and where you can go and respond to the census. So those are one of the initiatives that we are conducting in San Diego County. Has been responding pretty well. San Diego County is above the national response level, the national state level, sorry. So San Diego was San Diego was at 60, California was at 64, sorry, as I said before, and San Diego is at 68%, the response. So, but we still have area that, there are areas that have been responding 80%, and that's great, but there are areas, there are pockets of areas that where the response is still too low, less than 50%. So we need to still working in those specific areas.
I have another question.
Yes.
Now that California has one of the highest test rates for coronavirus, who determines how to help those people that had pre-existing conditions that will affect them the rest of their lives? Will they take into account that situation for medical? In other words, I'm hearing that people that get the coronavirus and that they have heart conditions, lung conditions, and other health conditions, and they are going to be handicapped for the rest of their lives, possibly. So do you think that the virus will affect where the allocation of the funds go?
Well, what I can tell you about a specific question, I don't have an answer, but what I can tell you is when we came, census count is also used for emergency situations, and that's why it's important for us not to know how many people are in any specific area, but also to know the demographic. So when we try to outreach to that area, we know like, okay, which language we're going to be communicating with them. In this specific situation with the pandemic, when the ventilators were assigned, they went also to the census to know where is the majority of seniors located. That is the information that the federal government use, and the book address that they have for that is the census count. So that's why, one more time, is as important. The U.S. Census Bureau, responding to your question, the U.S. Census Bureau has different survey. So the one that has been providing information is the decennial census that happens every 10 years. We have also the American Community Survey that one happens every year, and we just target like 2.8, 2.9% of households in America. And that one is different than this one. We call selected households, and then in that one we ask for income, we ask other things that we don't ask in this one. When the pandemic came, we start conducting another survey for the pandemic to see the impact of the pandemic in the community. And in that other, that was called the pulse, I have it here, if you allow me, the pulse of the pandemic. In that one, we household pulse survey, that in that specific survey that we do from the pandemic, we start collecting other kinds of information, and maybe the information that you have, that you are asking, was collected in that survey that was specific for that situation that the country was going through. I can tell you that the U.S. Census Bureau has so many surveys and so many statistics, that data that they collect, that I'm sure that maybe they may have been collecting some information regarding to that. But for sure now I can't provide an affirmative question, but I can tell you we have been working with how the pandemic has been affecting our community. Yes, in many ways we collected how the pandemic affected in the financial information, and how affected the job, the childcare, many things. There is a very, I have been working with seniors in the response of seniors in the census, and there is a very, the U.S. Census Bureau, they have this economic webinar almost every month. And regarding to seniors, that was a very interesting article where they conduct this investigation about how seniors industry may be affecting the future, but not fulfilling senior homes, not being fulfilled with the need that they need. In the case, like, for example, how the houses for seniors are not totally adapted to the seniors' need. And that is kind of very interesting article I can share with you, Nancy, so you can share with the rest of your community. And those are the kind of examples that the U.S. Census Bureau conducts. And I would try to get that information for you if that is possible. Deborah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Can I ask Isabel a quick question?
Sure.
So I saw on the website that you pulled up, it said the census does affect the Pell Grant, and I'm just curious, with so many college students here in San Diego with UCSD and SDSU, how do you encourage college students to register and make sure they, are counted?
Good question. So in the case of college student, we count them depends where they live. If they are staying in the dorm, they are going to be part of what it is root quarters operations. So root quarters operations comprise all of those buildings where different members that are not related between them, they live. Mm-hmm. Like, as I mentioned before, the prison, I just forgot that right now. For example, in the bases, the military bases, convents, all of, and the dorm, the dorm as well. So if the student is staying in the dorm, the manager is going to be counting them, and they are going to provide information to us. If the student is staying outside of the dorm, is renting an apartment, then they are going to be sending invitation as well to participate in the census. That was one of the main reasons why the census was extended, impacted highly that operation, because when we were ready to get that information for the dorms, the students were leaving the dorms and were going to their parent houses. Some of them are living outside of the state. Mm-hmm. So as I said, we were impacted as well. So we need to wait until the situation was clear, and still those group quarters, they still have the invitation, because we are inviting them to provide us that information. The invitation is extended still until, I say here, let's see, September, yes, when we are going to be collecting all of that information for all of those different places. But yes, sometimes, like for example, I have a case of a friend that she lives in Virginia, but her sons go to school in Philadelphia. And I explained her, like, he's staying in the dorm, you don't have to count him in the census. When the census came, the child came back home, and she was and she wrote him down in the census. She just wrote him like, hey, no, he's here with me. I said, okay, don't worry, it's done already. Remember that after the census is done, we have this period of quality assurance where we are going to get rid of all of those duplicates. So I guess you're not going to be the only one doing this, because of course, many of those students, they come back to their parent homes, and parents that were responding to the census, they assume the child should be counted in the census, even though the child is going to be reported like he or she live in the dorm. So that's how we kind of manage that situation.
Gotcha.
As you see here,
thank you.
The group quarter, they are going to submit information until September the 3rd.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you, Isabel. If you can send me those resources, that'd be great. I'd be happy to send them off along with the copy of the recording, so people can watch this and receive more information and be more aware of the benefits for the community at large that results in taking the census. So thank you again for being here. If there's not any other questions, I'm gonna say thank you one more time and say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.